What is up, Packers friends and family? Welcome back to another episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Thanks so much for being here today. Make sure to hit that subscribe and follow button if you have not already. There's going to be a ton of fun stuff coming out around training camp. We're going to have a ton of new episodes, some live shows, all that stuff. So you're going to want to know about it as soon as it hits. You're going to be here 365 days a year, just like I am anyway. So make sure to follow and subscribe. Have a nice, light, airy episode for you today. We're going to be discussing Jordan Love and where he ranks amongst his NFL brethren at quarterback. I'm sure that I will get all of these takes right, and none of you will disagree with me in the comments below, but should be a fun topic nonetheless. I'm going to go team by team and review, would you rather have the other team's quarterback or would you rather have Jordan Love? Now, there's two distinct ways of looking at this, right? The first way of looking at it is just for right now, this season. Take all of the future projections, take the salary cap, take the age, take all of that out of it, and just say right here, right now for this season, which quarterback would you rather have? We're going to do that first. And then after that, we're going to go and look at it a different way, taking into consideration the contract, the age, the salary cap, future projections, all those sort of things. Which quarterback would you rather have? And a lot of these are going to be contested and debatable and sort of in the eye of the beholder. So I'm going to kind of review which ones are clear and obvious. All right, there's a list of clear and obvious players you'd rather have rather than Jordan Love. There's a list of players that you would probably rather have Jordan Love over then. And then there's going to be some that are going to be, hotly contested and debatable that, again, are going to be, you're going to have a take on it, I'm going to have a take on it, and there's not going to be really a distinct answer until we see the 2023 season, sort of shape, come into shape and come into focus. What I wanted to do, though, is see what can we expect Jordan Love's ranking as a quarterback to be this season based on based on how many quarterbacks he's better than, worse than, etc. right now. So is it that he could, finish 10th best? Is it that he could finish 30th? What's that sort of range? So I think that's what we're going to try to identify today. So let's start with the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. Josh Allen, a clear and obvious one. If you're looking at it just from, I don't care what way you're looking at it, I don't think anyone's taking Jordan Love over Josh Allen. So that is one for the bad guys. Josh Allen, you are taking over Jordan Love, no questions asked. Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa is very interesting. You obviously have all the concussion issues. He's had some injury issues. I think he's been good. He certainly hasn't been great. I think if you were to poll 32 GMs around the league right now and say, hey, for just this season, you can have Tua or you can have Jordan Love, I think they're taking Tua. The vast majority are taking Tua. And I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a world in which Jordan Love cannot outperform Tua this upcoming season, but Tua has some really serious weapons on that offense. He's got a good offensive-minded coach. He's got a good running game. He's going to have everything that he needs. If he stays healthy, and everyone is hoping that he stays healthy this season, I think you take Tua over Jordan Love at this point. So I will go Tua as well over Jordan Love. New England Patriots, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. I think it's going to be Jones primarily, obviously. But this is another interesting, debatable one. I think a lot of you as Packer fans are probably saying, Andy, it is clearly Jordan Love. You would obviously rather have Jordan Love over Mac Jones. Mac Jones has been terrible. If you're a Patriots fan and you're listening, you might be saying, yeah, you know what? I actually like Mac Jones, and I think there's a chance that he can actually be better than Jordan Love. I think this one's a little bit more debatable. I would probably lean towards taking Jordan Love over Mac Jones. I feel like we've seen more of Mac Jones, and it hasn't been great. And it's possible that Jordan Love is worse than that or the same as that. But if I had to go with, all right, do you want to take what we know Mac Jones is, or do we want to know or go with the unknown in Jordan Love? I think the higher upside play is just going with Jordan Love in that situation. You kind of know what you're getting in Mac Jones. And I do think there is a degree to which Mac Jones can play better. I liked him coming out quite a bit. I think he can play a better brand of football. I don't know that he has the best possible weapons. I don't know if he even had the best weapons in the world, if he's going to be that much better. But there is still some meat on the bone there. And I think we haven't seen a complete product from Mac Jones yet. I would lean Jordan Love in this situation, but I would put this in the debatable category. If you were to poll 32 GMs, I think this one would be pretty contested. For just this season, I still think you take the higher upside on Jordan Love, and that's probably the direction that I would go in there. But that one's probably a little bit more debatable. Then you get to the New York Jets. Maybe I just should have started with this one. It would have been appropriate, I guess. You're taking Aaron Rodgers. And I know there are some Packer fans that are frustrated with Aaron and saying, are so happy that Aaron's gone and ready to go in a different direction. I was very much king of the it's time to trade Aaron Rodgers fan club, But in a large part of that reason was due to the contract that he was due and the future projections and all those sort of things. If you're taking all of that out of the equation and anyone is just saying, hey, for just this season, you can just have Aaron Rodgers or just have Jordan Love, who do you want? The obvious answer is Aaron Rodgers. And there could be a world in which Rodgers continues to regress a little bit and we see a little bit more of what we saw last year and he takes maybe another step back and Jordan Love just has a really good season. Anything's possible in the NFL, but another one, if you're polling 32 GMs just this season, you're taking Aaron Rodgers. You could make the argument from if you're looking at this from a specific Green Bay Packers standpoint that for one season, even if it's just one season, that like you've seen the Aaron Rodgers like situation, like we already know what that is. That storybook has been written, and no matter what way you want to look at it, it was just time to move on. Like even if it was Mike Tomczak, Blair Keel, Ronnie Makeda, whatever former Packers, like it was just time to move in a different direction. Like maybe that's your thought process, but I think if we're taking everything out of the equation and just saying quite clearly, who do you want this season? It is quite easily Aaron Rodgers. All right, Ravens, Bengals, we'll start with those two. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, clear and obvious. You're taking Lamar, you're taking Joe Burrow over Jordan Love at this point. Browns, Deshaun Watson, I almost don't even want to talk about this one. Watson was all, let's just talk about it from a pure football standpoint, right? We're going to take all of the off-field stuff out of the equation on this. Just talk pure football. I think if you're saying, again, take the insane contract for Watson out of the equation, we have seen Deshaun Watson play some amazing, amazing football in his career. Like fantastic, top 5 quarterback type stuff. Last year's Deshaun Watson looked awful. Like he looked really bad. If you were to say Jordan Love or last year's Deshaun Watson, I'm taking Jordan Love. But based on what we know of Deshaun Watson, you're expecting him to bounce back in some capacity. And I think you just have to take the high end upside there for Watson. So take the off-field stuff out of it, take the contract stuff out of it. I'll take Deshaun Watson just as the pure football player. And I think he's going to be much better this year with a little bit of the rust taken off than he was a season ago. But if he's not, then that becomes much more questionable. But I'll take Deshaun Watson as of right now. All right, Kenny Pickett with the Steelers is another really, really interesting one. So with that sort of situation, you're looking at, he was decent a season ago, and you kind of don't know what exactly he's going to be. He's got really great receivers at his disposal. I think Pickens is going to take a really big step for him. Like, that's a really interesting one. This is one that I would chalk up to debatable. And if you're a Steelers fan, you're clearly saying, yeah, it's easily Kenny Pickett. I want Kenny Pickett all day, every day. If you're a Packers fan, you're probably saying, no, it's easily Jordan Love. He's going to way outperform what Kenny Pickett can do. This is just one we're going to have to wait and see. And I would mark in the debatable category. Gun to my head, if I could have one for this season, it's a really tough. I think I would slightly go Kenny Pickett, but I don't feel strongly about that. And some of you might be dragging me for that. If you want to say slightly or even heavily Jordan Love, I wouldn't go against you too much. That is a very difficult one, and that'll be like really interesting to see how those two play out this season. Next up is CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans. We're just going to pretend Davis Mills isn't even there, right? So CJ Stroud is the eventual quarterback. This is another one where like, how do you even pick this one? Just for this season, I'll go with Jordan Love. This is one I think you can also put in the debatable category simply because we don't know either of these guys. And I think Stroud is a super talented quarterback. We don't even know if Stroud's ultimately going to start. But I think it's certainly debatable. But I'll take the guy who is going into his 4th season and has had some experience in the NFL over a rookie. But this is another one that if you want to debate and say CJ Stroud, you would take him over Jordan Love just for this season, I wouldn't necessarily totally disagree, but I think I'll take the guy with just a little bit more experience that has had some time to mature, work under Aaron Rodgers, etc. So I would go Love in that situation, but that's another one I would probably put in the debatable category. We can say the exact same thing about Anthony Richardson. That would be a really fun debate amongst NFL GMs of just this season, who would you rather have? Like Anthony Richardson is so raw and so incomplete as a passer and as a player. But man, he is dynamic. I think he's going to have a super fun season. I think there's going to be things that he can do that just he can do in the NFL. Like that's how special of a dude he is. But I would probably lean towards for just this season, taking the quarterback who has had a little bit of experience and can probably do a little bit more like actual quarterbacking. So I would take Jordan Love for just this year, but this is another one that would be a very interesting debate. Another one that I think is super interesting is Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill is not that great, right? You sort of know what you're getting, but there's some level of consistency there. And like, man, it's not quite as bad as like a Mac Jones. I don't think. I think you have a solid starting quarterback, and that's not nothing. But you know what the ceiling is with Tannehill. Like it's not getting you probably to a Super Bowl. Maybe a playoff win is your ceiling with that, unless you have just a completely stacked roster. I probably lean Tannehill for his experience just ever so slightly. But once again, if you want to argue Jordan Love's upside and what he can be, I wouldn't hate that either. So this is another one that I would ultimately put in the debatable category. And then you've got Trevor Lawrence, who you are taking over Jordan Love all day, every day. He is going to have a massive breakout season, in my opinion. Broncos, Russell Wilson. I don't know what to do with Russell Wilson in this comparison. He was so bad a season ago. And is that the real Russell Wilson? Was just this due to, not working in Nathaniel Hackett's offense? Is he going to be better with Sean Payton? Like, is he just unequivocally broken? I lean more towards, I think he's broken. I don't think he's coming back. I think, and just the weird leadership stuff and he's just an odd dude, right? Like, I lean Jordan Love here, believe it or not. I know maybe people are going to think I'm crazy for that, but I'd actually lean towards Jordan Love. This is definitely a debatable one. If anyone wants to say Russell Wilson because of his past success as the Seahawks quarterback and they think he's going to bounce back with Sean Payton, I get it. I understand it. I just don't know. That was a awful, awful season for Russell Wilson. And based on where he's at in his career, I think I might take Jordan Love just for even this year. Patrick Mahomes, clearly it's Jordan. No, it's Patrick Mahomes. You're taking Patrick Mahomes over everyone. Jimmy G, I'll take Jordan Love. I'll take the unknown over what I know is there with Jimmy Garoppolo. You could make the argument once again that maybe this is a toss-up because Jimmy G has the experience. He's got playoff victories, those sort of things. And if you are a NFL coach that's maybe on the hot seat and you don't know, like you don't want unknowns, maybe you take the Jimmy Garoppolo experience just so you know you have a starter, but he's got some injury stuff. Like it's just a very weird situation. So I would lean towards Jordan Love there, maybe put that a little bit more in the toss-up category as well, but certainly would lean Jordan Love. And then you're taking Justin Herbert 100 times out of 100 over Jordan Love. I would take Dak Prescott over Jordan Love. I would take Jalen Hurts over Jordan Love. And then you have two in the NFC East that are interesting. Daniel Jones, I get the hate and like the non-belief in Daniel Jones. He had a good enough season last year that if we're talking about just this season, I'm probably taking Daniel Jones over Jordan Love. And I think he was good enough last year. They won a playoff game. I think he took a significant step in the right direction. I think last year's Daniel Jones is the Daniel Jones. I don't think there's a step above that. I'm hoping from an NFL standpoint that he doesn't take a step below that. I think that's who he is. I think Jordan Love can ultimately be better than that, and hopefully he is. But right now, if I were to say just for this season, I would take Daniel Jones. And then you have Sam Howell, who I think is in a very interesting situation where he had a year to sort of develop, and he was a fifth-round pick, but he went a lot later than people expected him to go in that draft. I actually think Sam Howell can be pretty darn good. I am a Sam Howell believer. But I think you take Jordan Love. I think that is one that if, just a little bit more experience, a little bit more talent, a little bit more upside, I would go Jordan Love. Not maybe by a ton, but I would take Jordan Love in that situation. All right, NFC North. Where do you want to go with all of these, right? Kirk Cousins, just for this year, I think you have to take Kirk Cousins. I think he's been good enough throughout the course of his career where that is a good quarterback. And just for one season, you might argue that the ceiling is known with Cousins, but I think if you were to poll again 32 GMs, I think for one season only, they're going to take Cousins over Jordan Love. I think you have to take Jared Goff too, based on his season from last year. That was a very good season. There's a quarterback who has been to a Super Bowl, a lot due to Sean McVay, the rest of the offense around him, the defense, etc. But he has been to a Super Bowl. He has won playoff games. Like I said, last year he looked very, very good. I think for a one-year season, you'd have to take Jared Goff as well. And then with Justin Fields, that's a complete toss-up. And I know Bears fans will say Justin Fields unequivocally. I know Packer fans will say Jordan Love unequivocally. I just think that this is going to be one that has to play out. We'll get a glimpse at it in week one, which should be super, super fun. But if you wanted to say Justin Fields, I'm not going to argue with you. I think he can be a very good quarterback in this league. If you want to say Jordan Love, I'm not going to argue with you. I think he can be a very good quarterback in this league. But that is, in my opinion, the ultimate toss-up. Falcons, Desmond Ridder, I am taking Jordan Love over him. Panthers, Bryce Young, ultimate toss-up, number 1 overall pick, super talented. How good can he be in year 1? That's what's going to remain to be seen. But Jordan Love's the unknown too, so that's a total toss-up. Bryce Young, Jordan Love, take your pick. I'm not going to argue either way. Derek Carr, I would take Jordan Love over. Again, we know the Derek Carr experience. We know the ceiling on that. So I would lean Jordan Love, but I would probably put that in the toss-up category as well. I think some GMs would take the safety of Derek Carr knowing what they're going to get. And then I would take Jordan Love over Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Matthew Stafford, assuming he is healthy, I would clearly go with Matthew Stafford. The 49ers, Brock Purdy, knowing there's a little bit of a injury situation there. Was it sort of a Cinderella sort of thing, a one-year wonder? I don't know. I think that's in the toss-up category. I could see if you want to lean Brock Purdy there. I could see if you want to lean Jordan Love there. They also have Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, who might get, but I think that's going to be Brock Purdy ultimately. I would say toss-up. I don't know where to lean in that situation. If Brock Purdy continues to play as well as he did last year, I'd probably lean Purdy, but that's a more interesting one and certainly would not debate you either way. Geno Smith's another one that you can kind of put in that like Jared Goff of like, was it fool's gold? Was it just a one-year thing, or is this the new Jared Goff? Is this the new Geno Smith? Based on last year, I would probably lean towards Geno Smith here. I would probably put this a little bit more in the toss-up category. I would lean towards Geno Smith here, but I think you could make a debate that maybe Jordan Love just has the higher upside. And then the Cardinals one is a little bit more interesting because you've got the Kyler Murray injury. Is Colt McCoy going to end up starting? Does Clayton Tune get the start? Let me just say this. I will take Jordan Love over the entire Cardinals situation. If it's just Kyler Murray straight up, that gets more questionable, but based on his injury and when he comes back, I will take Jordan Love over the Cardinals situation. So obviously better. I had 15 quarterbacks that I put in the obviously better category. Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, and Matthew Stafford. So 15 that are just clear and obvious that I think are better quarterbacks. 12, I think, are in that debatable category. You've got Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Derek Carr, Brock Purdy, and Geno Smith. And then 4 that I think he's ultimately better than, and that's Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, Baker Mayfield, and the entire Cardinals situation. So where does that put him? 15 better, 4 worse. That means that in all likelihood, Jordan Love is going to come somewhere between 16th and 28th in those quarterback rankings this year, in my opinion. Again, that's just for this season. So I think the high end is 16. I think he can reach that. Maybe a couple quarterbacks get hurt. Maybe he can get a little bit higher. But like, let's just say the ultimate ceiling is probably somewhere around 15, right? I think probably 25, I would say, is probably the lowest. I think he ends up outperforming at least a couple of those quarterbacks in the debatable list. Probably a Mac Jones, maybe a Derek Carr, maybe a couple of the rookie quarterbacks, etc. So I think probably 15 to 25 is probably where we're ranking Jordan Love for just this season, if that's all you could base it on. Is it possible it's a little bit lower? Sure. Could Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, outperform expectations? Maybe Kyler Murray gets back and plays better than ever. That's possible, I guess. So you never quite know, but if I were to rank it right now, I would probably put him somewhere in that 15 to 25 range as overall quarterbacks. All right, now let's quickly go through it, considering age, contract, and future projections. I'm not going to go team by team on this one. I'm just going to go the ones that I think are obviously better in obvious better situations. I think Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, and Jalen Hurts. Those are the 8 that I think you are taking their current contracts, their current age, their current performance, everything, and saying, if I had to take everything into consideration, future projections, how long they're going to be good for, all of it, those are the 8 that I just don't, I think you're clearly taking them over Jordan Love at this point. I think there's 5 quarterbacks that, I'm going to even say, I'll say 5. I think there's 5 quarterbacks that he is clearly better than based on this point, at least when it comes to a long-term projections, or at least you would be betting that you take Jordan Love over their situations. Ryan Tannehill, I just think the ultimate upside there. He has a bigger contract than Jordan. Give me Jordan in that situation. I'm taking Jordan over Russell Wilson when you take the contract into consideration. That is an abysmal contract. I will gladly take Jordan Love and his 2-year contract over Russell Wilson in that abomination. I'm going to take him over Jimmy G and his contract, his age, his injury situation. I'm going to take him over Derek Carr. Maybe there's a world in which Derek Carr gets out of the Raiders and just plays better. But until I see that, I'm going to take Jordan Love over that. And I'm going to take Jordan Love over Baker Mayfield as well. And then looking at it long-term, contract situation, everything like that, there are 18 quarterbacks where I think you can debate. Tua, with all the concussion stuff and the injury issues, and just not knowing what Jordan Love's upside ultimately is, and same with Tua, I think that one's a debatable one. Aaron Rodgers, when you start bringing into contract considerations and you start taking into consideration his age and how many years he plays, you can make an argument for Jordan Love there. Deshaun Watson, based on his abomination of a contract and like what that's going to do to the Browns long term, I think you can make an argument for Jordan there. Daniel Jones, I'm still not completely sold. I would probably lean maybe a little bit more towards Daniel Jones, but I think Jordan Love, there's a world in which he can outperform Jones rather easily. Jared Goff, long term, I'd maybe still take Jordan Love's upside. Kirk Cousins, he's ending, or coming to the twilight of his career. Matthew Stafford with the injury issues and how much longer is he going to play? Geno Smith, was it just a one-year wonder? It's not like he's super young anymore either. Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Brock Purdy, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder. We've all discussed like they're all in the same sort of realm of like, hey, any of these guys could hit and be a future long-term starting quarterback. Any of them could bust and you have to look for a new quarterback in the next, couple seasons. And then you've got Kyler Murray, who once he's healthy, I think, with that contract becomes a little bit more iffy, and what he ultimately becomes is a bit more of a question mark, but certainly in that debatable situation as well. So 8 situations that are clear and obviously better. I think 5 situations that Green Bay has a clear, obvious, better situation than with Jordan Love, and then 18 that are sort of toss-ups right now. So somewhere between 9th and 27th from a long-term projection standpoint when you take into consideration age, contract, everything like that. So 16th to 28th on the, right now, right here sort of standpoint. 9th to 27th long-term is where I would put his range. And where you come out on some of those quarterbacks is, again, in the eye of the beholder. And that's what's fun about these topics and these debates. I'm going to tell you what I think and what my opinion is, but it's just that. It's an opinion. And that's what's so fun about watching the season is we get to see how, go out and see how these quarterbacks actually perform. And it's going to be really fun to see what Jordan Love can do in 2023 and just where he ultimately ends up as a starting quarterback towards the end of this season. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be right back here tomorrow. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.